Is the glass half empty or half full? Most of us just assume our water is safe to drink, not the citizens of Flint, Michigan. Our cover story is reported by Martha Teichner.
Hi.
Dr. Mona Hanna-Attisha did not set out to be a whistleblower.
It is my duty as a pediatrician to be an advocate for my kids.
It was as simple and as complicated as that. Dr. Mona, as she's called, is a pediatrician at Flint, Michigan's public hospital and a professor at Michigan State University's College of Medicine.
That's your heart. Isn't that cool?
I happened to be kind of the right person at the right place with the right training at the right time. The water crisis literally kind of fell in my lap.
A horrifying crisis that branded Flint as the nation's poster child for government gone wrong.
Through no fault of their own, they were poisoned by their state's government screwing something up.
Here's the plant.
On April 25, 2014, Flint switched from water purchased from the city of Detroit to water pumped from the Flint River as a way to save money.
I'm already dying from my health issues, but y'all gonna kill me even quicker.
It didn't take long before Flint residents started complaining that something was wrong with the water.
Dogs and cats are dying. The tomatoes were turning black.
My water comes out of my faucet smelling like it came out of someone's butt.
General Motors took its local auto plant off Flint water because it was corroding engine parts, and filtered water coolers were installed in the state office building. And then the truth came out. In addition to disease-causing bacteria and even carcinogens, Flint's drinking water was loaded with lead.
The levels of lead, one sip, would have caused her blood lead of her child to be lead poison.
Just one sip of water?
One sip of that water.
Professor Mark Edwards, an internationally recognized water safety expert at Virginia Tech University, had been called in by Leanne Walters, a Flint mother with a sick child, to test the water at her home.
The first thing we did is we worked with her over the phone to sample her own water. That showed her own water was hazardous waste. Levels of lead, literally 13,000 parts per billion. That's enough if one glass of that water was ingested that could hospitalize a child.
And the federal threshold for action is
about 1,000 times lower.
Edwards' team then tested homes citywide and found more with high lead levels. But the authorities denied there was a problem.
You know, I freaked out because I know what lead does. All pediatricians know what lead does. It's a irreversible neurotoxin.
Enter Dr. Mona.
So I really went on this quest to find out, is that lead in the water getting into the bodies of our children? I first tried to get that data, that surveillance data from the county and the state, and couldn't. I thought that was odd because they had this data.
Suspicious, she was determined to find out some other way.
Our clinic here, the Hurley Children's Clinic, we see the most Flint kids. So we decided to look at our own data and in record speed kind of ran the numbers.
These results are concerning.
On September 24th, 2015, Dr. Mona Hanna-Attisha revealed that in the 17 months since the switch to Flint River water, the number of children with high levels of lead in their blood had doubled, and in some neighborhoods tripled.
For high-risk groups, especially those infants who are on the formula and the pregnant moms, we would say no tap water.
This was the frightening proof that Flint water wasn't safe, but still the state stonewalled.
The DEQ spokesman,
Department of
Environmental Quality, called me an unfortunate researcher, that I was causing near hysteria. The governor's office spokesperson said that I was splicing and dicing numbers.
And how did that make you feel?
It made me feel really bad. So I was, after hiding under the covers for a period, I woke up around 3 a.m. and there was this kind of new strength that I found inside me. And I realized that every number in my research was actually a kid. A child I'd cared for, and it was those kids who got me out of bed and said, fight back.
Fight back in a city that for decades now seems to have been fighting losing battles. Once, Flint was among the most prosperous communities in the country, the birthplace of General Motors. Today, GM's presence here is dramatically reduced. Flint's population is half what it was in 1960. The city's decimated neighborhoods, often occupied by people too poor to leave. Flint's finances were in such bad shape that in 2011, the state seized control of its government.
And what becomes of the role of the city council and the mayor?
They're still there, but they're puppets. They have no role.
So if they said we shouldn't be on Flint River water.
Right, and they did. They voted to, the city council said, hey, we don't want to be on Flint River water, but it didn't mean anything.
What was perceived in Flint as the hijacking of democracy resonated with Dr. Mona Hanna-Attisha. She's the daughter of Iraqi immigrants who were afraid ever to go home after Saddam Hussein took power.
I was raised in this milieu of acutely knowing what injustice was. And I grew up feeling so lucky and so fortunate that I was here.
Dr. Mona's revelations were the game changer. They forced the state, finally, to stop denying the undeniable.
Blood lead levels among children under 6 years of age in other parts of the city of Flint were 2 times that of the rest of Genesee County.
The state conceded that yes, we re-looked at our numbers, and yes, there is a lead problem.
It turns out vital chemicals required by law to control corrosion in old lead pipes were not added after the switch to Flint River water, causing lead to flake off. Flint reconnected to Detroit's water system, and Michigan's governor, Rick Snyder, apologized.
I know apologies won't make up for the mistakes that were made. Nothing will. But I take full responsibility to fix the problem so it will never happen again.
15 current or former state and city officials and staff were indicted as a result of contaminants in Flint's water. Like water, money has been pumped into Flint. Over $500 million from the federal government, from the state, and from private donations. All of the city's lead pipes are being replaced. A showplace preschool was built. A registry was established to monitor the health of anyone affected. But then, this spring,
the state of Michigan is reportedly ending distribution of free bottled water to residents of Flint.
The state's justification? Multiple studies showing lead levels below the federal limit for more than 2 years, although using filters is still recommended. The science seems to say Flint water is safe. Many residents don't believe it.
If you ask anybody in the city of Flint right now today and they tell you they trust the water, they're either A, paid or delusional from it. Chlorine and all this stuff.
Tony Palladino has no doubt why his family's hair is still falling out.
The bacteria, the other chemicals that are in it.
The Flint water crisis, loss of trust is its legacy.
Never mind that it was corroding our insides. Never mind it was poisonous. Never mind it was killing us. But
Bishop Bernadelle Jefferson is one of 3 residents we talked to.
The ones that we trusted to have a voice for us, they lied.
Back in 2015, I had lost twins, but I was also pregnant again in 2017 with twins again, and I've lost them again.
Nakia Wakes blames the water for her miscarriages. She plans to join multiple class action lawsuits.
I will never trust the water again here in Flint.
According to Virginia Tech water expert Mark Edwards, Flint isn't the only place where the tap water is suspect.
You can't trust the lead pipe. It's a ticking time bomb. You think you've got it under control, you forget about it, and suddenly the lead will start to fall off when it wasn't before.
Lead pipes are still common across the United States. So is lead solder in plumbing.
And that's an important message for the roughly 10 million Americans who have those pipes in front of their house. I just wish we knew where all these lead pipes were, because we don't.
How do I know that my house is free of dangerous piping?
The only 100% way to be sure is to dig a hole in your yard and to see what's there. Ultimately, that's what we had to do in Flint.
As for Dr. Mona, she has written a book about the invisible danger of lead in Flint's water.
Is the water crisis a crime scene?
It is. It absolutely is a crime scene. And there are victims. There are absolute victims, and there are villains. Sometimes it takes a disaster for cities to be reborn.
She's become a cheerleader for the good that's come out of the water crisis. Better education, better health care, But even she remains wary.
Do you yourself trust the water here?
I drink bottled water here.